our topic today, which is Mythbusters, the education edition. And so, as I often do, here is the map of where we are headed today. So this has been a fun one. This has been a fun one. So along the way, we are going to do a definition of what educational myths are. We are going to take a look at two very, very prevalent myths, one of which is in education, the other one is kind of in the general public, but both, either or both, we hear references made to on a weekly basis, if not more often. But then we're going to take a look at some additional somewhat common myths. Some of them I had was pretty much aware of. Some of them I weren't, but it was the language that they used that I realized when I read through it. But then we would like to wrap up with coming up with some strategies that we can use to dispel some of those myths. Now, see if I can keep my hand off of the screen so it won't change on you. Educational myths are commonly held beliefs within the world of education that often lead to poor or inefficient practice. And like all myths, they are unfounded, in fact, but seem to perpetuate through popularity. And we've already been introduced to at least one of those. These are the two myths that I think come up pretty consistently. One is the myth of learning styles. Now, there is absolutely no empirical evidence that some learn better visually, some learn better auditorily, some learn better kinesthetically. We all know that we have preferences. But when we are teaching, the first consideration should be the content that we're teaching and what is the best way to present that information. And that has come about in several different things that I came up with. As far as each of us having a specific learning style, not necessarily. Most of us do, as you probably can tell from me, have a preference for some. I tend to be able to process things in a more visual manner, but that doesn't mean I can't learn in other ways as well, because I certainly can and do and have to. The other myth is one that is out in the general public, and that is the multitasking. This, in fact, is truly not possible. Most people that consider themselves multitaskers transition quickly, but in that transition, there is some time lost. And so, as well as some data too. So those who consider themselves multitasker, and I've had a couple of discussions with people that do, and those who feel like they are multitaskers will believe that no matter what I say, so I don't even try to go there anymore. But it really is not possible when you consider some of the information about how our brains work. So this is from an article that I found that itemized some myths that undermine educational effectiveness. And the first one is the myth that these students are pretty tech savvy. They can always look things up. And that is not a strategy that we really want to rely on. First of all, in order to actually look something up, it has to go into long-term memory. And as we talked last week, there are various strategies to help put something into long-term memory. But more importantly, before we assume that they can just go to whatever their choice is and look something up, they have to have the research skills in order to look up the information in the manner in which we want them to have it. but they also need to have the analytics to be able to discern how reliable some sources are, because there are many websites out there that they could wind up on that are not reliable. And I know our library has a couple of probably research topics as well as presentations about being able to determine the accuracy or the validity of a website. So yes, we all can click on any of those tools and look something up, but is it effective? Do they know how to look for what they actually need? And do they know how to determine how accurate that site might be? A second myth from this article was that our brain is static, unchanging, and it is set before they start school. Most of us at this point are quite familiar with the term of neuroplasticity. Our brain, fortunately, for me anyway, I will say, is constantly changing and adapting, and throughout our whole life we are making changes in those synapses and in the way the brain reaches out to other components of it, and I'm grateful for that. um, Excuse me. A third myth from this article that I found interesting is some of the left brain, right brain information. And there was for a while a determination that we process things in either our left brain or our right brain. And once in the early 90s, when they started doing research on live brains rather than cadavers, they realized that as things were being processed, they were being processed in both sides of the brain. The whole brain is involved in the processing uh, project. They interpret things in a slightly different way, but those are things that go together to create the whole, the impact. But this is an interactive map, and when you open up the infographic, you will be able to click on the different things, and it tells you what that part of the brain does and how it functions. So the next one I have, this is a conversation I've had within our department, and some of the things that came up as a part of it. That one of them was the myth that all students cheat. Well, we all know what happens when we make a generic statement like that, that all do. Indeed, academic integrity is certainly an issue right now, but not all do, and it's the okay, that wasn't where I was going with that. Anyway, we know that there are certainly issues with academic integrity, and it gets really, really frustrating for us as instructors. And yet it depends, there's so much involved with the our perceptions of how we function, that it's not something that really we need to well, it is something that we need to deal with. I don't mean that at all, but that we cannot assume that all students are. Another myth in education is that online teaching lacks academic rigor. And when I looked for information on that, what came up is, as we are all familiar with, the how quality matters determines rigor. And it is based on a number of components, most of which are available to you as a part of our course build process, or even as a part of the course work map, where you can build a course we using our map. It is determined, the quality matters determination of rigor has to do with being able to know that the activities and the assessments do indeed align with the objectives, that by the end of the course, we can definitely indicate that our students have accomplished those objectives in a variety of ways. And that is a component that is truly, truly essential. And I'm not sure if, I would wonder about some of the courses that are not online. I wouldn't question some, not that I would question any of my colleagues, but there could well be some courses out there that maybe do not necessarily accomplish those objectives by the end of the course. And I don't know if the degree to which they are being reviewed for that. And then the third myth was that college students don't read. They don't read their assignments. They don't read the syllabus. They don't read the text. And indeed, those are some major frustrations with all of the material that we provide for them. And so the research that I found on that, and I will share this article, it was a fascinating article that gave some of the results from the Pew Research test about different age levels and different education levels of people that they had done the survey, the study on, and the different types of reading that they do. And clearly the end result of that is, if they are offered readings in a variety of formats, we all, not just our students, but all of us, are more likely to read in those different formats. We have many of us, and many students read on our phone now. I typically don't, but I do keep a Nook with some things on it that I like to read. Many people will read on an iPad. And so there are a variety of different ways to provide the reading material for them. So it just is a matter of reframing how we look at it, and a way of sharing the information with them. Yeah, a syllabus as we present it is not the most exciting reading anywhere, but there are some really, really important components in there that we want our students to be sure to get. I have a colleague who has decided that she wants to create like a second version of the syllabus, with just the important due dates and the assignment information and the grading information, and then have the policy information in another document. But that, yes, we need to know that they have at least glanced at it and are aware of it. So as long as we can provide our students with options for the readings, then we have a better chance of getting them into the reading. Students do read, and that the assumption that they don't read, it was totally wrong based on this article that I read. So that is a key component in making sure that we offer them a variety of types of reading. And this is from an article just recently, within the last few months. And one was, college as we know it is dead. And that's one that to me seems like a pretty drastic, but he was indicating that it was something that, looking for where my notes are on it, that it college enrollment indeed is down. And we are, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, of course, being the pandemic, but others being the fact that the actual numbers of students in college age has dropped a bit. And but and these decreases are not limited to just four-year institutions, and those things will have long-term implications on our society. And they then format the ways that institutions are going to adapt to the changes. Some are, as we are at FAU, working very closely with the K-12 system and creating schools that are a part of the university. And we've had that actually, I think, as long as I've been at FAU. Creating pathways to higher education. Fundraising campaigns have shifted from things like buildings, laboratories, athletic facilities, to raising money for scholarships, student financial aid, wellness initiatives. And so these are things that are moving in the right direction, so that the institutions are becoming less institutional and more student-driven, student-focused. The second one from this article is that college is broken. Again, a terminology that I don't think I would ever use. But the reality is colleges and universities are certainly complex organizations, and college costs have indeed risen. No, that's the last one. College has changed. We have what I am extremely impressed with. I've had the opportunity to deal with a couple of community colleges, and the focus that they are putting on student success, reaching out in a variety of ways to students that might not have otherwise had any kind of an opportunity. And we know the facts that it is beneficial to us that a college education is certainly beneficial. And then the third one is the affordability of college. Indeed, college costs have absolutely risen. And he references an article that he read about degree inflation, and indicates that there are bachelor's degrees required in jobs that actually have not ever required one and probably don't need one. And it's based on the fact that those tuitions are rising, are based on simple economics. Anything in high demand is less price sensitive, so high demand, inflation, rising costs, and less intense competition. Some colleges see that they can raise tuition, and they do, a seller's market. However, there are values, and he references here how to determine if college is worth the investment. And of course, it depends. And it depends on what the student wants from their investment, and how they will determine the value of that. They also reference the fact that that there are returns on investment based on personal criteria: convenience, quality, prestige, location, and of course, price. And they also reference the fact, he asked the question, is Purdue the best engineering school in the country? Maybe, or maybe not. But when you take a look at the fact that, yes, they are very good at engineering and have made it an important item to freeze their tuition for 11 years. They have not had a tuition raise for that. And so that's one component. They've managed to work it around so that there are other ways of paying for the education. So yeah, there are some myths. There certainly are some myths out there, but there's also some facts that changes. Give us we it's important for us to be able to know the source for the information that we are sharing with others. Right, so I am going to move on and give you some other additional information. This is a quote again from the person that provided us with those last three myths that were things that I would not have thought of that way. But in the tasks that he does, higher education, definitely, there's no question about the fact that it changes lives and fosters upward mobility, both economic, social, and cultural mobility. So when you there's benefits, a myriad of benefits in higher education. Education has received some a great deal of negative press, public sentiment, and everyone who has been to school feels like that they are in a position to criticize education. That has long been a frustration, whether it's K-12 environment or higher ed. Anybody who has been there feels like they are entitled to that they know all about it. So these we also know that some of these myths are played out in the headlines. We read about them in the paper, and then echoed by colleagues and legislators who are not close to the field of higher education. So the facts get bent, twisted, manipulated, and changed based on a worldview. One example is that fewer people are pursuing a college degree today. That is a fact. But does that mean it's that higher ed is dying? Not at all. Not at all. So colleges, universities do amazing things in a variety of fields: research, education, healthcare, all kinds of public goods. So yes, looking beyond the myths and the polarized viewpoints, there is indeed every reason to be optimistic. And so I thank you for joining in and taking part in this and being a part of our venture into educational myths. Thank you so much.